phone nice for you guys. Managing, no, close, live. There we are. Perfecto. Tony here from Radpad. Thanks for checking it out today. I've got some time. I'm at the Rivas Hospital right now. A friend needed to go there. It's been an amazing experience. If you need healthcare in Nicaragua, it is free, kinda. I think so. I'm pretty sure. I've been to the hospital a bunch of times in my 4 years here, and I've never paid anything. Um, yeah, so I'm here and I got a little bit of time, so I thought I'd talk about building in Nicaragua and give you kind of a quick look at what's necessary that you might not be used to in the States or in Canada. So first off, buying property. You're not allowed to buy property in your own name. So my name's Tony, and I can't go buy a piece of property as Tony. I have to start what's called an SA. An SA is like an LLC in the States or LLP in Canada. And once you have a corporation, then the corporation can buy and own assets in Nicaragua. Like a car, you're not allowed to buy a car in Nicaragua. So it's a good idea to start an SA, and you can buy your car, your property, everything you want under a corporation. That also helps for selling it later. There's tax reasons for that and just ease of sale. It's quite easy to sell SA here in Nicaragua or transfer ownership. Once you have your SA set up, then what you need to do is purchase your land. When you purchase your land, then if you'd like to build on it, you need to get a building permit. In order to get a building permit right now, in the beginning here of 2024, is pretty tricky if you're in the coastal area. And the coastal area of Nicaragua is pretty much the sought after area. It has all the surf breaks, and the surfing is really what's built the tourism country or the tourism areas and the expat communities. It's all really based around surf because it's really good surf. It has offshore winds about 300 days a year. The likelihood of getting surf when you come to Nicaragua is very high. So it makes it a great surf destination for vacation. The waves are big and the waves are a lot. That means the interval, ton of waves, very little people. So you might find waves as good as in San Diego, but instead of 200 people on that wave, you're going to have 20 or 30 or sometimes none. So Nicaragua on the beach is a place to buy property. Now there's 4 different types of titles that you can get in Nicaragua. The first one is an indigenous title. The indigenous title is tricky. It's basically like a First Nation. I don't know how to really explain it, but basically the indigenous people own areas of land in Nicaragua, and you can purchase land from them, and then you can get a title. The tricky thing is that they can vote you out of their neighborhood if they don't like you. So that title is a little sketchy, but if you're a good person, I haven't heard of any problems, but that's just something to know, and it's a bit different probably than we're used to. Then the next one is a city title. City title is a great title. It's an Alcaldía title. It's probably the strongest title you can get. Then you have what else do you have? You have the agrarian title. That's where a whole bunch of people own a piece of land. Say like 10 people own 10 acres of land, right? You're like, oh, sweet, it's agrarian title. I'll buy 1 acre. So whose acre is that? And they all raise their hand because they all own, 10% of that 1 acre. So you got to like do some paperwork with agrarian titles to make it so that you're actually getting the title. And then the last title, maybe it's called a city title. I forget which one it is. But this is a title you'll see on the beach in some places where you have to renew it each year. And renewing each year, there's no record of it ever being not renewed, but it does decrease the value of the house by up to 20%. So basically what it means is you own the property as a lease. So you own that lease, and each year you have to file to renew it. And if you were not to file, or if they were to decide that they didn't want to lease it to you again, then they would own the property. The challenge there is whatever you built on it would be very challenging to move that. That said, a lot of people do it. it seems that there's several different types of investors in Nicaragua, people that, you know, this is like 1% of their net worth. And they're like, yeah, I'll buy a house on the beach and whatever. If it gets, it's never been taken away, but if it does, then I'll lose 1% of my net worth. And those people can buy those type of risk, can handle that type of risk. Other people that are, you know, like putting it all in, like you see a lot of Canadians have sold everything and they're like, we're out of Canada. That place isn't working for us. So we're coming to Nicaragua. We sold everything. We're going to buy something. And they're spending like 50, 60, 80% of their net worth on a house. So they're not very interested in a year lease title. You know, they want the Alcaldía, the real deal. So once you choose the property that you want, you check the title. You need to go through surveying. There's a few steps you should do on titles here, because back in the 1980s and 1990s with the DARE campaign, when they were doing the Contra invasion here, the land was split up back and forth, and it got really unclear whose land is whose. So you want to do a title check, and you want to do a background check, like do the taxes background check as well, for like 40 years, so that you know back in 1980 and 1990, there's nobody that's going to come out of the woodworks and say, no, I got this paper and this was actually my property. And you're like, damn. So you don't want that to happen. So you do a long background check. You do your tax check to make sure taxes have been paid. And then also your tax check will verify whose property it actually is. And then you need to survey it as well, because back in the day, a lot of the survey, you know, the properties were like a dude put a fence up and said this is where the property is, but it's not actually there. And there's been one or two cases where a house was actually built partially on a neighbor's property. So you want to make sure that the survey is correct to the title that you get, your taxes, the background check. There's a few other things. There's a great video on the Everything Nicaragua, or no, the Radpad. It's radpad.com. On the website, there's a video called Canadians Buying Clean Titles in Nicaragua. And a man named John is kind of the expert on that, and we do about an hour-long interview on that. So I won't get any more into that, but there is some stuff that you need to know about that stuff in order to purchase the land. The next thing that you're going to need to know is that in 2024, there's been some really interesting stuff going on in Nicaragua. So the road, that will change everything. That's what most people are saying. They're saying, when the road comes in, it'll change everything. Well, maybe. In Nicaragua, there's a lot of started projects, you know, with great intentions, and then something happens, and then they don't get finished. So whether this road does change everything, it's pretty cool. It's called the Coastal Highway, and it connects basically from Costa Rica right at the border, and it goes all the way up into Managua, and it's at Austinel Beach, which is this beautiful beach. There's so many properties and so many opportunities down there with little beaches in between, and there's never really been a road there, so you can't really get to all these beaches. So this road is going, it's a pretty big road by the looks of it. It's going to connect all the way from Austinel up into Managua, and it's going to connect San Juan del Sur. That's kind of the big party town in Nicaragua right now. And it'll connect San Juan del Sur to the Tola beaches and open all the beaches in between so that you can get to. When I mean open, they're open, but they're impossible to find, and they're challenging to get to. And for surfing, it's actually kind of a pain in the ass, because if you're at one surf break, you got to drive all the way inland to get to the road that is there right now, and then drive, you know, a little bit on that road, and then back down that super long road to get to the next beach. So if surf is good somewhere, you might miss the next one. And what this road will do is it'll make it so you can hop from beach to beach quickly and easily, and you'll be able to get places quickly. Right now, there's rivers and stuff that you have to cross, like Limon 1, Limon 2. If it's too much water, you can't go. So it really reminds you, you know, that you're in a developing country when you can't go places you want to go because there's rivers in between you and where you want to go. So now this road will make it all happen, if it ever gets done. and it looks like they're kicking some butt in spots. They do it in spots. They don't do like a start one area and then finish it. They do like spots. So they've done several spots, and those spots are looking good. But kind of with the road working, it really needs to be a whole road, like from start to finish, one end to the other. So right now there's spots in between one end and the other end that are looking good. And that's the update on the road. But how this road affects you is that you can't register a deed, a title, right now if that road is near you. And that has something to do with like making, property value, because the government needs to pay when they put the road through somebody's house. They have to pay that person for their house, and they have a basic assessment right now on what the house is worth and blah blah blah. If they were to allow people to register deeds, the property values around this road are going to increase dramatically. So then the government, I guess, would be paying more. I don't know anything about the government or how they work or anything. So, but I do know that the titles cannot be registered right now. And since the registration can't be done, what that means is it's hard to get a building permit, because you need to have a registered title in order to get a building permit. Some guys might be able to work around that. I haven't been able to find a way around that. So in order to get a building permit, you got to have your ducks in a line. So that means you got to have an electricity plan, like a bill, and your transformer and everything up. If you don't have, like, give you an idea, say, oh, the house has, a wire next to it, so I can get electricity, no problem. Yeah, maybe no problem. Or you may have to buy a transformer, and maybe it's going to cost you like $25,000, and maybe it's going to take X amount of time, 6 months, 3 months, a year, who knows. So these are things that when building, you really need to get that shit sorted out before you talk to engaging in a builder, because I mean, what if you get going, you're like doing plans and everything, and then you're ready to go, and then it's like, oh, you don't have electricity. Well, let's see about that. Oh, 6 months, we got to wait for that, or who knows how long. And then the next is water. You got to make sure you have water there, so you got to have a water bill, or you got to have a well, and it's best to have a registered well. But anyways, you got to get these things. We have a form on radpad.com where you can just do the location qualification form, and that's like, so if you don't have a deed, I don't know how you can get a building permit. So if you're like closing, say you just bought a property and you're like, yeah, I just bought a property, it's in San Juan, it's rad, I'm going to build this super rad house. Sweet. Love to build it for you. Let me see your registered deed so I can get a building permit. Well, I can't. I got a bill of sale. Well, there's a few things that are going to make that challenging. One is the road coming through, so we don't know when you're going to be able to register that deed, so your bill of sale is there. Two is that you got to have a permission to sell, so your seller actually has to go get this permission to sell. Where it gets tricky is that the Al-Qadiyah registry is now switching to the Attorney General's office. They're digitizing all the forms, the titles and everything, so that they can do a proper tax assessment on what property values are, need to be paying in taxes and stuff, and blah blah blah. But the point is that who knows how long that's going to take. So you got the road going against you. You got the movement from the Al-Qadiyah to the Attorney General's thing going against you. You got the what's the other one there? The road. That's a big one. That's I don't know one. Then you got the Al-Qadiyah switching to the registry. That's another I don't know. And then the promise to or permission to sell. That's another one. Now, if you want to look back where Nicaragua got its first kind of like dark, sketchy investment place, which it's not. If you do your homework and you do things properly and you don't ever listen to anybody that tells you, oh, I know a guy and I'll make it happen, that's bullshit. There's a system and process for everything in Nicaragua, and it's very simple if you follow it and do it properly and work with lawyers like Paul Tiffer and work with people who do system and process work, not, my cousin's brother's Carlos is going to wave the line. No, that's not how, it'll never work. I hear these stories so many times and it just never works. Do it properly. There's a system for doing it all. So you basically gotta make sure that you can get a building permit before you can build. So building in Nicaragua, once you get all that done, the best thing to do with building, because it's going to be a different experience than it would have been in Canada or the United States. In Canada or the United States, you're going to hire tradesmen that have like a journeyman, right? He's done like 20,000 hours of carpentry or plumbing or whatever it is. And then you hire him. He gives you the plan on what he's going to do. He submits that to the city. The city, you know, adjusts it to whatever code needs to be adjusted. Then it's brought back. Then you sign off on it. And then along the way, as changes happen, you know, with the plumbing, for instance, say they say, oh, we needed a bigger pipe because the fire guy said this or whatever. You sign off on it. And you keep signing off so that you have a clear track record of what was said, who's doing what, and how much it's going to cost and when you're going to pay. Here in Nicaragua, that's not always the case. Now, you can grab some great builders. There are some freaking phenomenal builders, and those phenomenal builders are busy. Like, you try and get Carlos to come and build for you. You know, he's like, well, I happen to be building a $10 million house on the beach right now, and I got another one over here, and I got 3 in the line, so maybe in 2030 I can build your house for you. And that's awesome for him. He's an amazing builder, and I would love to have him build my house. But the really good builders are pretty freaking booked, you know? Like, if you find a builder that's like, yeah, I can build for you next month, it's like, wait a minute, why aren't you building? Why are you free? If you're free, that means you don't even have one in the pipeline. Like, to be a builder, you got to have jobs booked out, you know? So you might find a builder that can do it next week, right? And his brother's cousin or whatever has done this before. So you're not going to get the same billing procedure. The money isn't going to flow the same. And then you're also going to have a quality of build. It's going to be different. And a lot of it has to do with clarity. And language is often blamed for it. Well, you know, he didn't understand your English because the majority of people are speaking Spanish because we're in a Latin American country. So the way to avoid, you know, or to achieve clarity is to be on site. It's just the way it is. Either you get a construction consultant, which is a fantastic idea. I've been a construction consultant. That's how I started out. And it's a fantastic idea, and it's great. The challenge with a construction consultant is the time that's necessary for a construction consultant to be on site. So when you have a construction consultant, they'll come and they'll check inventories and make sure things are being paid right, and these are the materials for your job, and they were delivered, and these were the guys that worked, and they worked that much, and they've got your back like that. But they're not there all the time because they can't be. Because think about it, if a consultant was there all the time, then you'd have to pay all of his time. And a consultant has, the way it works when you're a consultant is you have a bunch of clients and they all pay the bill. But if you're a building consultant in Nicaragua and you are on site all the time for one guy, then that means that's his total income and you're gonna have to pay him for that. That's expensive. So it's best for you to be on site. It's just the way it is. There's nobody better to be on site than you. I'm not saying don't have a construction consultant, because you're gonna need to talk to them and you're gonna need to be able to say, look, the builder's doing this. Is this the right way? Is there a better way? You know, I found this online or blah, blah, blah. And you talk with your consultant before you talk to the builder. Because the last thing you wanna do is mess up the culture, which the culture in Central America with the builders is, yes, I can do it. I got it, I'll do it. And they almost like, they don't like to say when something goes wrong. They just like to get it done the way that they can, because it's a very yes culture. So when you speak with yes culture people, you want to be very clear in an alternate path if you decide to do one. You don't want to keep the yes culture involved in that decision making. It'll be confusing for them. So work with your consultant, come up with a precise alternative to the builder's path if necessary, and that's where the consulting will come into play. But you need to be on site. So what we do, what we've decided to do now, Radpad, is we build, quickly. We build differently, so we have quick-built, modern guest houses. That's what we build. And we can build those fast. So in 30 to 60 days, you can have a 2-bedroom guest house on your property. And then you can be there for as much as you'd like during the construction process. So what that means is when you're renting somewhere, you're spending money on rent while you're building, which is like capital. Building will cost more than whatever you think. Whatever I think it is, it's going to be more. It's the way it is. So 10 to 30% more is a good budget to have. Well, if you can cut your rent and live on site, then that's not going to affect you as much. So living on site is going to save you money on your rent, and it's also going to save your time on commute. I can't tell you how many times it's been like I've been on site and then, all right, this is going to happen. We're all clear, great, go. And then I get 20 minutes away, and then they're like, wait a minute, this happened. What about that? And it's like, damn, if I was just on site, it would be no problem. But since I was just 20 minutes away, and I got 20 minutes back, that's 40 minutes, and then maybe another 20, 30 minutes of talking. It's an hour and a half, and whatever else I had planned for that day is shot. So being able to live on site saves you that time in commuting, and it allows you to direct the building, in the direction you want, because at the end of the day, it's your dream. You're paying for it. It's your money. So you need to be there to make it happen. And if it's not you, like when my girls get older, they're so interior design conscious. Like they built studios with me. They've been around building so much that I would love to have one of them on site. If I was building a house, I'd say, hey, Madeline, you go live on site in Nicaragua and make this house like these plans and talk to me, once a day or once a week. But somebody that you really trust to live there, because I don't want to live there, kind of thing. And that's another option that I think the Radpad can really help facilitate, because it's a 2-bedroom house. It's it's got a kitchen, a bathroom, 2 bedrooms, a big living space. It's rad, it's airflow, it's modern. It'd be a killer pool house. Like, wow, it'd be amazing in front of a swimming pool. It's all modern looking. The maintenance on Radpads is like nothing. So they last forever. They're made of readily available materials. If anything goes wrong, you can easily find new parts that you need for it. Not that you ever will, but if you were, they're very low cost. Like, they're designed with some of the technologies we use. You can get away with virtually very, very low operational cost per month. I'll put it at that. So that's what Radpad's got. And I think that's probably the #1 thing you can do for your build in Central America, or Nicaragua in particularly, is get a Radpad on site as soon as possible, and then be there for your build and make your dreams come real. Right on. Send me a WhatsApp if you want. We could do a video call and I'll chat with you about anything. Of course, if you've got questions about building in Central America or Nicaragua, I'm more than happy to help in any way I can. Just give me a call on my WhatsApp. It's 505-7607-6060. That's 7607-6060. Or you can check us out on radpad.com. Right on. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching.